So I tried filming this video about a week ago and I feel like my makeup looked so good, and let's just like roll that clip and then we can continue. I literally only got through the intro done, and then I spoke about like one or two books, but then they just didn't, those two books just like the as it progressed, it just didn't get like any better. So the only thing that I did end up filming was that actually made sense was the intro. So let's roll that clip because my makeup looked too good, okay, to not even show just a little bit. But let's roll that clip. Hey guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. So since it's 2024, I thought I'd do like the last 24 books that I read. Okay, I might do another one probably like towards the end of the year, depending on whether or not I do read another 24 books before the end of the year, but we'll see. I will say in this video there's going to be one a book that is going to be in an upcoming vlog. Okay, the vlog is probably going to come up maybe end of the month, if you know. But yeah, so I hope you guys will like this video. I hope you guys will give me your thoughts on everything that I'm about to discuss, and the first couple ones might be a little bit saucy, but we'll see. Okay, so let's get into the books. Okay, so the last 24 books that I read, and I'm going to be ranking them. Now I will give an honorary mention because in between reading all these other books, like all the last 24 books, I did read a reread, right? And when I initially started with it, I was like, did I read this book? Did I not? And then because I remember I had like an ebook of it, I was like, have I read this book or did I not end up reading it? But then it turns out I did read it, and this book was so good. So good that even when I read it the second time around, I still enjoyed it. Okay. This is Karen Slaughter. What is the name of that book? Pretty Girls. Now, I loved this book, and I'm not going to like rank it because I've already read it, and I think I might have given it a 5-star when I first read it, because that's definitely what I'm gonna give it now. That book, it was graphic, but it wasn't like too graphic. I feel like it's a type of graphic that I can handle, you know. It wasn't like, yeah, it wasn't too graphic, so I like that about it. The book was amazing. I did kind of predict like the big plot. Actually, I think I might have predicted all of them because I do remember even when I read it the first time, I kind of predicted. But because like as you're reading the book, you can kind of just remember like, I remember reading this, I remember the reading that, and I remember like you remember things about it. So I do remember that I did actually predict the plot, but I thoroughly enjoyed that book. I recommend that book. So yeah, let's get into, so like the first like heading is I finished, but at what cost? Currently in the 24th spot, okay, reigning supreme is is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Now this book is hyped on TikTok, on Book Talk, and I don't understand. Okay, I genuinely truly do not understand the hype around this book. I never got over how boring this book was. Like, this book was 600 pages of nothing. I gave this book 1 star, and there's like 3 in the Nakamount series, and this one is the first one. I will not be reading the next 2, no matter how good people claim they are. And the fact that this one is like the shortest book, and this book was like almost 600 pages. Girl, what do you mean? Like, what type of romance am I reading for 600 pages? Like, granted, I'm not a romance girl, right? But after this book, I never wanted to read another romance book again. Why? Like, why? No. My lash was lifting, but I can't tell if it is now. I don't know. It looks fine now. But then I'm gonna look at the footage and I'm gonna be like, girl, that lash was definitely lifting. But it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. So, 24. People loved this book. People really loved this book, okay? I wanted to get into Colleen Hoover, and I was like, I'm not a romance girl, so I thought I'd start with like the book that's like thriller, okay? Which is Verity and Layla. Now, after reading Verity, okay, so the book is Colleen Hoover Verity, I will not be reading Layla. I will not be reading another book by Colleen Hoover. I did not like this book. Apparently, there's like the ending, like we all know how that ending ended. It made me so angry. Okay, I almost swore, but it made me so angry because why? Like, what was the reason? Like, there was no need for her to do that. It was just like, it was like her final attempt at making the book any good. I predicted what was happening from the beginning. The book was just messed up. Apparently, there's like a special edition book where like the I don't know if it was the epilogue or like the last few pages, but the epilogue was explained and you kind of understand what the real truth was. If I can get a hold of that book, I might buy it just so I can put this whole thing to bed. This book, okay, currently at number 22. This book won an award for, I don't know what award it was, right? This book is well renowned. It's like historical something great whatever type of book, right? And I didn't know that at the time of reading it, but I've looked at the like Goodreads reviews and things like that, and it's like, yeah, this book is like based off of World War II. I don't know what they call it. I'm trying to like find the words, but it's not coming on the top of my head, right? Now, this book, this is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. There is, I think I saw it this year sometime, that there is a movie that is out on this book. But yeah, so this book was like watching paint dry. Okay, I was bored out of my mind. They kept introducing characters and I didn't understand how they were significant to the plot of the book. Was there a plot in the book? I don't know. Was there meant to be a plot? I don't know, because it's based off of World War II. But there's these two main characters, right? They're young kids. I don't like reading books about young kids falling in love. It's just weird and no. But then I wanted their lives to like intersect, right? And this is a spoiler, but I wanted their lives to intersect. And when they did, it was like for a good 2.2 seconds. And then they were just gone again. And I'm like, and the main character just goes and dies. And it was in the weirdest way. Well, I mean, it wasn't weird like that, but it was just like, huh? Was that really necessary? Like, this book, the characters they kept bringing in, the pointless chapters and paragraphs of other characters and all these people we kept meeting that had no significance, never to be heard of again in the next page. Oh my gosh, this I could go on and on and on about how upset I was when I finished reading this book, okay? Because there was no need for that guy to die. In fact, I'm getting all riled up over a book. Anthony, when I catch you, I also gave that book 2 stars. The next category is I was so disappointed, okay? Because I wanted to like these books. I needed to like these books. I thought I was going to love them. That is the thing. So the category is I was so disappointed. Like so disappointed. The 21st 21 spots, Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. Now, the first book that I read from Alice Feeney is like literally, it's in this list. It's one of my top books, right? And after that, I was like, I need to read all the other books that she has. And I did read them and they're also like ranked. but not all of them, but just most of them. But this one, I feel like I'm over the whole amnesia trope, or like the coma trope. I'm over that type of stuff. This book, I don't even have much to say about it. The fact that I predicted this book's ending, I predicted what was happening the whole time. Even I was like, oh, that's it. Like, I was just bored. I was really bored. I didn't like it. I don't know. I just didn't like this book. I wasn't necessarily bored. I wouldn't say bored, but I just didn't like it. It just didn't do it for me. There was nothing very thrillery about it. It was just, it didn't have like what it needs to be a good book. But it wasn't an awful book. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I predicted the ending. I predicted everything that was going on. I wasn't surprised at any point. Everything just kind of just, and then that ending was just like, it, it didn't make sense. It was just, what? No. And then the next book is the 20th spot, right? Is Someone Had to Do It by Amber and Danielle Brown. Now, this book, it was okay, right? This book was fine. It wasn't very thrillery, okay? I followed through with the book, but towards the end of it, I was just skimming through it because I was like, these are fillers, right? Like they're just trying to add. It's like when you have an essay and you just start like using words or saying the same thing in different ways just to fill up the word count. That's what it felt like, because the whole book was just, I kept expecting it and waiting for it to just be punchy, for something to happen, but I knew what was going to happen from the very beginning of the book, and I was following through. The twists weren't very twisty, they were very predictable, and I don't mind a book where I can predict the twists, but at least let me have a fun time reading it. With this one, I was just bored. I was honestly just bored halfway through the book, and yeah, that's it. So I gave this one 3 stars. Honestly, I could give it a 2.5, but I think 3 is fine. So the next category is a solid read. I like these. Yeah, a solid read, basically. 19th spot, we have A Stranger in the House by Sherry Lapina. Now, this book was fun. It was a solid read. I had some parts of it, they were entertaining. Some parts were like, I enjoyed reading it, right? Yeah, that's it. I just enjoyed reading the book. It was okay. I mean, it was entertaining. I was entertained. I wasn't mind blown, but I was entertained. Yeah. Next book is No Way Back by Andrew Gross. This book, my dear beautiful mother, my mom got me this book once, and a couple of years ago, actually, she got me this book, and she just got home and she's like, girl, I got your book. And I was like, girl, what? You want me, don't you? And then yeah, I only recently read this because I kept putting it off, because I started reading it, right? I think I read the first chapter. I was like, okay, I know what's gonna happen here, and I didn't. No, I read the prologue, I think. Yes, I read the prologue and I was like, okay, I kind of know what's gonna happen here, so so then I just stopped reading it, and obviously like, I went about my life. But then I decided, let me just give this book a shot. And I will say, I enjoyed reading this book. This book was a solid read. This is a type of book that you read. I don't know in what circumstances you'd read this in, but it's a solid read. I really, really like this book. And I might be biased because my mommy got it for me, but I really like this book. And yeah. Also, I don't like books when people's faces are on them. That's a little weird. But yeah, I gave that book 3 stars as well. The next book in the what is it? 17th spot is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. Gillian. No, it's Gillian, by Gillian McAllister. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to read a book about like going back in time, right? But I will say I enjoyed the book until it got to the end, like the very, very end. Because that's kind of where I started, like it just lost me, because how are we able to go back in time and then change something that happened and then have it be like that in the present? That was the only thing. You kind of had to suspend your disbelief a little bit. But I mean, the whole book you had to suspend your disbelief because going back in time. But the ending just wasn't, it wasn't great for me. Had the ending been a little bit better, it probably would have gone up. Maybe by like a half, but still, it probably would have gone up. So I did give this one 3 stars as well. Okay, now in the 16th spot is another Alice Feeney book, and this one is the one I feel like people really like the most. I feel like when I hear books about from Alice Feeney, this one's the one that gets recommended the most because people genuinely liked this book. Now I gave it 3.5 stars, right? And this is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. And I gave it 3.5 stars because I enjoyed reading this book. That's about it. I enjoyed reading the book. I had a fun time reading it. Like, I can't really say much about it, nor can I complain. I did enjoy reading this book. That's it, and that's all. And then in the 15th spot is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. Now, I've heard that Lisa Jewell's thriller books aren't thriller heavy, but I've heard that she has some pretty good, solid thriller books. And that's what I can say about this one as well. It was a pretty solid thriller book. I had a fun time reading it. It was pretty heavy, I will say. I felt really, really sorry for the main character. Like, I still think about her sometimes to this day because I'm like, that she deserved a whole lot better. And that thing that her sister did with her ex-boyfriend, that the ex-boyfriend basically got her kidnapped, okay? Because if she hadn't been trying to, well, he was the boyfriend at the time, but if she hadn't been trying to be like him or be better than him or like be as smart as him, she wouldn't have gotten herself in that mess, child. And then he ended up with the sister. That I didn't understand, that I didn't like. Lisa Jewell could have done better by that character. Like, that little part just didn't have to happen. Like, it didn't have to happen at all. At all. Why would you do that to your sister that disappeared? No. No. When I tell you that my makeup today, it's literally just breaking off. This foundation, child. This concealer, child. Anyway, moving along. In the 14th spot, we have Local Women Missing by Mary Kubica. Now, I enjoyed this book. Okay, I did kind of predict the main twist right at the end, but there were other twists within the book that I didn't predict, so that was pretty good. And I liked the book. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I really, really liked this book. Yeah, it was a fun read. It was honestly, genuinely a fun read. Okay, and then in the 13th spot, we have another Alice Feeney book, Daisy Darker. I thoroughly enjoyed Daisy Darker. I found her to be very funny. The way she just described her family, it was a really, really good book. I gave it 3.5 stars, and that was for one reason and one reason only. The main trope of the book, I can't tell you what the trope is because it's one of the biggest plot twists, but the main trope of the book is a trope I don't like. So that's the only reason why I knocked it about a 0.5 star. So I gave it 3.5. But I loved this book. But the trope, I mean, if you can just read the book, the trope at the end is what took away that 0.5 star for me. And yeah, it's basically like a book about, it's kind of like you guys are like stuck in this place and you can't get out, and then people get killed off, like killed one by one type of thing. So yeah, that's what that was about. So yeah, so these are the The next category is these I highly recommend, okay? The books from here on are 4 stars and above. And these are books I would recommend you read. These are the ones I feel like you definitely need to read. Okay, so in the 12th spot, we have Only for a Week by Natasha Bishop. This is a romance, right? I gave romance a chance after that disaster from all, what is that? Yeah, the one in the last spot. I gave romance a chance and I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. It was a black romance, which I mean, I feel like maybe I might just enjoy black romance more than all the others, but I enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed this book. I like the mailman character. Yeah, I've since then read more romances that have a bit more of a punch to them. So, like in terms of not just the romance, but like character development and things like that. With these ones, I mean, it is 200 and something pages. So, on the lower 200s, so it's, I wouldn't really say that there was much character development within the book, but it was enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. And then the next book on my list is The One by John Mars. Now, I don't know, is who wrote The Fault in Our Stars? I think it was John Mars's brother, right? Yes, I think it was the brother. I don't think it was him. I think it was the brother. And The Fault in Our Stars is one of my ultimate favorite books. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Now we're talking about John Moss. I like this book. I enjoyed this book. This book is basically like a, there's like an app that helps you find your match based on your like DNA, I think. Yeah. I think it's based off of your DNA. Yeah. A quick DNA test to find your perfect match, the one you're genetically made for. This book was enjoyable. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed most of the characters in this book, and it was a fun read. I highly recommend this book. I loved it. I had a nice time reading it, and the twist, well, it was more like a suspense, I feel like, but I enjoyed it. Okay, now we're getting into my top 10 books. Now, in the 10th place, we have The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. I had a reading vlog where I read this book. I'll link the vlog down below, but I had a reading vlog where I read this book, and I enjoyed reading this book. I loved the main female character. I just loved her, okay? And then the main male character died halfway through the book. I was gutted, okay? I genuinely liked him. But anyway, I think I discussed more on this book in that vlog, and I really enjoyed reading this book. I gave this book 4 stars, and you need to read it. Okay, and then in the 9th spot, we have A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. Now, I will say with this one, I predicted the main plot twist, the big reveal. I predicted that. But I did enjoy reading this book. I enjoyed reading on, like, because she's a, what is she, a psychologist? I enjoyed reading, like, listening to her talk about psychology, like mental health things, things of that nature. So, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. I had an amazing time reading it. This is about a girl whose father goes to prison for, what was he, a serial killer? Yes. And then I wished maybe like they could have like a second book where we can get the dad's perspective, because I kept waiting for his POV and nothing ever came. But I think for the main plot of the book, and yeah, I think the plot twist of the book, reading from his POV would have ruined the whole thing. But I did predict it. But I enjoyed reading this book. It was a fun, solid read, and yeah. Then in the 8th place, we have What Lies in the Woods by Kate Ellis Marshall. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I'll start there. I enjoyed reading this book. I enjoyed reading this book a lot. I loved this book. The plot twists were good. I predicted one of them, but the plot twists were good. In my 7th spot is I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. McIntosh. I'm probably butchering that. My apologies. but I gave this book 4.5 stars. And that was because this book, it was beautiful. This book was amazing. This book was about a woman who, yeah, I don't want to say much because I feel like it would be a spoiler, but I was shocked. The shocks, the plot twists were plot twisting, okay? I was shocked when I got to the reveal midway into the book and I was like, wait, what? And then they started off with a POV of somebody, and I cannot express how much I hated this man. I hated him. Like, honestly, I hated him. The things he was saying, but this, oh my gosh. It was, yeah. And I also have a reading vlog for this one. I think it's the one where I was reading, beach reading vlog. I'll probably put that one up down below as well, where I think I got in extensively on the book and how upset that man made me by the end of it. So yeah. Okay, and then the next one in the sixth spot is The Wicked King by Holly Black. This one is also in a reading vlog that I did. I think it's the same one as the kind with killing. But yes, this was part of my DNFs, and that was because 40% into this book, maybe 30% into this book, I got bored and I stopped reading. And yeah, this is the second book in the folk of the air series. This is the second book, and the thing about, okay, well, this is The Wicked King by Holly Black, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. The thing about these books is that when they start giving you twists, it goes mad, it goes bonkers, it goes, you just left there like jaw on the floor. Okay, so in the vlog I spoke more about this book, but I genuinely enjoyed the better half of this book. I could have given it 5 stars if the beginning was as like appealing to me, but I knocked off a half a star because in the beginning I was bored and I soft DNF'd it. So yeah. Now we're getting into the top 5 books of the last 24 books that I read. These are the creme de la creme of the crop. I think both of those are correct. I don't know. But yes. Okay, and then the category for this will be like, on a different day, these could like easily be swapped. They could easily swap places like on a different day. So yeah. Okay, let's get into the fifth one. In the fifth place is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. Probably butchered that, so sorry. But yes, I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. All of the ones in my top 5 are 5 stars. So I gave this book 5 stars because I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Enjoyed this book. That's really all I can say. I loved it. I had a fun time reading it. Page turner. Okay, in fourth place is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. Now, I feel like if you're gonna read this book, go into it blind, right? Don't watch reviews of anybody talking about it because it will literally spoil the book for you. Like, I can't even talk about the message behind this book. After reading this book, I had to go and look up what was going on, the ending. And then when people actually started explaining, I was like, wait, what? Wait a minute. This is what was happening? Mind blown. Mind blown. The message of this book. I'm afraid to read another Ian Reid book because I feel like it will not measure up to just how amazing this book was. The message behind it. It was just a work of art, honey, okay? It was a work of art. I wish I had written this book. But yeah, I absolutely loved it, 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 loved it. If I could rank it up, I would. It's currently in the fourth place. If I could rank it up, I would. I absolutely love this book. In the third place, this is the Alice Feeney book that got me into I need to read all of Alice Feeney's books frenzy, okay? And I feel like this one isn't the most popular one, and people generally didn't like this one as much as the other two, but I did. Okay, this one is His and Hers by Alice Feeney, and the twist of this book, I've read reviews where people are like, it's so hard to believe, and I'm like, girl, it's a book. It's not meant to be very realistic. Okay, it's no, I loved it. I loved it, and I will not take any criticism coming from anybody about this book. Okay, I loved it. Sucker punch you. Okay, I loved this book. I genuinely loved this book. I loved it so much. I loved it so much. I was thrilled the entire time reading it. I was, I almost said exhilarated, but I don't know. But I did enjoy reading this book so, so, so much. So the second book is The Wicked. No, it's not. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And this one is the first book in the Folk of the Air series. And I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. This is like I think it's like a fantasy something. And I hadn't read like books about like fairies and tales and stuff, you know, before reading this one. And I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. Like I said with The Wicked King, the twists were twisting in this one as well. And I think maybe because it was my first time being introduced to this one, I might have enjoyed it more because like being introduced to the characters and everything, that I didn't quite get bored. I loved this book so much. I'm currently reading The Queen of Nothing, which is the third book, and I'm also enjoying that one. I just had to pause it because I had like other content I had to film, but like other video content I had to film. But I really, really, really enjoyed reading this book so, so, so much. I love this book. And like I said, I won't take any criticism, okay? Because I am right and you are wrong. I feel like if this was just signed to start to read like any, what is this genre called? Fairy, no, not fairy, fantasy books. Start with this one. Start with this one. I think there's somewhere I spoke. Oh yeah, my DNS. I spoke about it. They say it's like enemies to lovers. I didn't get that, but I still enjoyed this book nonetheless. I still thoroughly enjoyed this book nonetheless. So yeah. If somebody had told me that I would have a ranking where I put a romance book in the number one spot, I would have straight up told you were lying, okay? Because no. But after reading this book, this is Get a Life by Talia Hibbert. After reading this book, suddenly I was in my romance girl era, okay? And I'm not leaving anytime soon. I'm currently reading the second book in the Brown Sisters trilogy, and this one is the first one, and this is in my number one spot. And when I say the depth that this book has, I have a reading vlog that's going to come up. I'm going to talk about all three of these books. As soon as I've read all three of them, I'm going to have like a vlog where I get into more depth with them. But yes, when I tell you the depth of this book, these characters, the character development, the struggles that these characters go through are real life struggles. And it was just, I find her books to be a work of art. I find her to be so talented. I feel like after reading this trilogy, I'm going to try and see if she has any more books, because I absolutely love the way she develops her characters, the way her characters are like real life people with real life struggles, and they remind me a lot of me. And like I relate so much to these characters, and I'll get more in depth into everything when I do have my vlog, which is probably not going to come up anytime soon. But this book, it definitely deserves the first place spot because I loved it. I really, really loved it. So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me talk about books. I hope you guys are going to read some of these books. If you haven't read them yet, I hope you guys are going to read some of these books. And if there is a book here that you've read, please tell me what you thought of it, because I really would like to hear what you guys think about some of these books. and I'm a thriller girl. Okay, so if you have any like banger thriller books that you would like to recommend, maybe I've read them, maybe I haven't read them, but I'm a thriller girl and I love thriller books, and I'm always on the hunt for the best thriller book. Okay, and but I'm currently like my romance girl era. I'm currently my romance girl era, and I don't know. There's just something about reading about black love for me, and like black people being loved on and being loved upon and loving, that just does it for me. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope you guys will like, comment, and subscribe to my little family, to my channel. And until next time, guys, bye.